You overpay for parts. You overpay for services rendered. You overpay on your lease. If you overpay on stuff, you're going to have to save money elsewhere. They don't have any depth. The Chargers don't have the stars across town, but they have depth. 3 great receivers, 4 running backs who can play. Rams have 1, Todd Gurley. Hurts an ankle, limps a little, they're toast. Now, I got nothing against the Rams. I think the Rams are interesting. I think they're good. But a lot of this story so far is sales pitch and glamour and oh, wow, and personal accomplishments. December and January in the NFL, okay, attrition sets in. Who's good right now? The Bears. The Bears have 1 star player and a bunch of good, cheap, young players in depth. Baltimore. Who are Baltimore's stars? They got a lot of depth. Chargers. I mean, their star? Phillip Rivers? I mean, Bosa's a good player, but he didn't play for like 2.5 months. This is the time of the year when you need depth, and that overpaid, marginally productive stars aren't worth it. I think the Rams actually are very lucky. They're in a division where Arizona's in a complete rebuild, and San Francisco lost their quarterback and is in a rebuild. In Seattle is in a marginal rebuild, but they're still in a rebuild. Okay? So can they turn it around? I think this is their reality. They have a $5 billion stadium. They're brand new to town in a very competitive market with the Dodgers and LeBron and the Lakers and a lot of college teams, and they got to sell PSLs, and they got a $5 billion stadium, and they overpaid for a lot of guys you've heard of, Ndamukong Suh, Aqib Talib, Brandon Cooks was on the Saints, it was on the Patriots, he was in playoff games. In the end, they got no depth. And people are figuring them out, and they become a target. And we're always talking about how great they are and how smart they are. McVay's not the smartest young coach in the league. Matt Nagy in Chicago is. He's pulling birds out of a hat with Mitch Trubisky. Here was Sean McVay after the game.
We got to be able to figure this out and figure it out fast, because these last couple weeks we're doing things that are totally uncharacteristic of what good football teams do, what we've done through the first handful of games this season. Everybody's got a hand in this, and we got to get it figured out fast.
They're not a terrible team. They're going to win their division. They'll probably be at home and win a playoff game. I'm not saying they can't play, but I'm telling you what's going on here. This is a sales pitch. It is giving up draft picks for a bust in Jacksonville, Dante Fowler. It's spending massive money for Brandon Cooks, who's never done anything in a big game. Belichick and Sean Payton bailed on him. I like Aqib Talib. Ndamukong Suh, he's more brand than football player right now. They didn't do anything. Depth, don't have any. All right, let me shift gears to this. One of the reasons I like the NFL more than college football, I learn stuff. Seasons are long, teams start hot, they have injuries. You learn a lot during NFL season. This weekend is we thought we were going to get all the clinching. It was all the chaos. Let me ask you, yesterday the Cowboys get shut out. People are freaking out. What did we really learn about the Dallas Cowboys yesterday? Dak's limited. We all kind of knew that, right? Other than the fanboys. They lost on the road off emotional wins with less to play for and a team with a superstar quarterback. You do realize Las Vegas favored the Colts. It was our bet of the week. Fanboys and pom-pom wavers in the media got shocked. Every pro gambler in America was on the Colts. There was no new discovery here. Dallas has had one transformational moment this year, that win over New Orleans. Yesterday, shut out by the Colts. Didn't learn anything. That doesn't mean anything. I look for games when I learn something. You know what I learned yesterday in the Colts-Cowboys game? That the Colts' offensive lines and defensive lines with a bunch of young guys are way ahead of schedule. Like, this is a rebuilding year for the Colts. We didn't even know if Andrew Luck's soup bone was good. It was rebuild the O-line, rebuild the D-line, and then they'll have a bunch of cap space. Oh, hell. Yesterday, I'm watching that game. I'm watching their O-line, running lanes wide open. I'm watching their D-line, big pressure on Dak. That's the only thing we learned yesterday, that Indianapolis is ahead of schedule on their rebuild. By the way, the Colts have now shut out and dominated a division leader, Cowboys, and then snapped an 8-9 game winning streak with another division leader, Texans, the week before. Don't get caught up in the shutout. Excuse me, but didn't the Colts get shut out 3 weeks ago? We didn't learn anything in that game. When the Colts got shut out by the Jags, I didn't even talk about it. Why? Was Andrew Luck suddenly no good? They were on the road against a talented defense, coming off some emotional wins. They had some nice, before that emotional wins, they went on the road. They didn't match the urgency of Jacksonville, and they went down there, and the Jags got defensive players and pressure, and they got overwhelmed and didn't score a thing, and who cares? Well, you forget about it. A week later, nobody cared. Nobody cares about this Dallas game. The Colts had a lousy road shutout 3 weeks ago. Indy now is the story. They are 8-6. Their O-line and D-line are way ahead of schedule. They've got the New York Giants, who looked like yesterday they kind of mailed it in, season over, coming up next. Dallas is exactly what we thought they were going into the game. Really good young defensive talent, especially in the front seven. Superstar running back who needs to play really, really well and give you about 130, 150 yards for Dak to be more effective. But if Dak doesn't get Zeke's 140 yards, doesn't get Amari Cooper breaking tackles for touchdowns, didn't. The Cowboys had more than average penalties, did. Well, Dak's not going to do much against an aggressive young defense that's way better than anybody thought at this point. The reason I like the NFL more than college football, I feel like I learn things week to week. It's a week-to-week league. Alabama, Clemson going to play for the national title again. I'm not learning much. Dallas is fine. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to host a playoff game. And if it's low scoring and Dak gets support, they'll win that game. But if Zeke runs for 80 yards and they have a few penalties and Amari Cooper gets doubled and taken away, then Dallas won't win a playoff game. And what I learned, you don't want any part of Indianapolis. They are playing with house money. Be very careful about these young teams that are ahead of schedule, that aren't supposed to be good until next year. The Colts playing with no pressure, a red-hot quarterback, a coach and a quarterback aligned with tremendously talented rookies and first-year players all over the roster. That's the only thing I learned. Coming up next, Colin right, Colin wrong, 50 minutes from now. Coming up next, it's happening, and this is how it happens. When dynasties end, this is how they end. That's coming up next. Folks, the holidays give us time to reflect on the special people we've appreciated throughout the year, friends, family, business associates. And now with Christmas coming up, perfect time at 1-800-Flowers.com.